Hi, everyone, and welcome to Rising Stories podcast. I'm Corrine Sandifer, your host. Each week, I interview a business owner or author, and we chat about what it takes to build a business or write a book. We also dive into topics that we can all relate to, such as work-life balance, living with intention, and dreaming big. As these women share their stories with us, it's my hope that you will be encouraged to live out your own story. My guest today is Annie F. Downs. Annie is an author, speaker, and after talking with her today, one of the smartest businesswomen I've ever met. As a best-selling author, Annie invites her readers to experience fulfilled lives with a God who made them on purpose and loves them deeply. During our chat, Annie and I discuss book advances, how she builds in a rest during the week, and Bellingham pizza. But before we begin, I'd like to ask you to please tell a friend about Rising Stories podcast. And if this is your first time listening in, thanks so much for being here. Also, don't forget to follow me on Instagram and Twitter. I'm at Corrine Sandifer at both. And y'all, next week will be my 50th episode. Rising Stories 50th episode, and I have a very special guest. I can't believe we've come this far. But stay tuned to hear who my special guest will be at the end of this show. And now here is my very informative and amazing conversation with Annie F. Downs.
Oh, I'm thrilled to be here. It was fun to get to talk to you. Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, well, I'm glad that I didn't have to hunt you down at Noodle. Is it Noodle Monday?
Noodle Monday, yes, exactly right.
Because I threatened that. I was like, I'm going to come see you because I know where you are. I know where Noodle Monday happens. So
that's right. It's the best farmer's market in the world, I think. But it's the best farmer's market in Nashville for sure. It's so good.
So what's the restaurant that serves noodles?
Well, that's how it started is we always got the ramen noodles from Bowl and Roll.
Okay.
And so it just was me and my assistant, April. We just were like, all right, every Monday we go get noodles from Bowl and Roll. And then a couple of our friends started joining us. And now we kind of eat wherever you want to in the farmer's market, but we still call it Noodle Monday.
Okay. Because there's a great Indian place there.
Oh, yeah. We get that sometimes. We get barbecue sometimes.
Yeah.
There's one little stand that turns over constantly that's kind of like whatever. They rent it for like once for a week at a time or so.
Oh.
And so that one's always fun as well. On Mondays, it's a little sad because some of the places are closed, but most of them are open. And it's so good.
And you go there for lunch. That's cool.
Yep. We go there for lunch on Mondays.
Is Sweats still there, which is a meat and three?
No, it is not, sadly. I know.
Gosh, I'm ancient, so I've been going to the farmer's market since it opened, well, years ago, and it was sad at the beginning, and now it's like, gosh, they've gotten fancy on us. It's got all kinds of stuff.
Oh yeah, it's really international, and I totally love it. I think it's such a great place.
Yeah. Well, all of my listeners all 5 of them, no, they've all called in going. I've asked them, I'm like, what should I ask her? And so I've got all these questions. So I may just like.
So sweet. I love it. I hope I have answers.
Yeah. Well, like everything from, one of them was, what is her favorite nail polish and brand color?
Oh, sure. Well, that really depends on the season, to be fair. But currently it's OPI's You Don't Know Jacques. It's like
I do like that
winter brownish purple.
Mm-hmm.
I also really like ballet slippers. I'm currently wearing like a maroon on almost all my nails, and then on my ring fingers I have a gold glitter. So I usually do an accent nail, a party nail as we call it, or I do all glitter. My girl at my nail salon is always like, of course, one time I didn't do glitter and she was like, did you forget? You always do glitter. I was like, oh, you know me too well.
Well, what I heard is the other day I thought this was a great tip is that if you chip a nail or your paint color chips or whatever, you can do glitter on that nail.
Yes, that's exactly right. Just cover it right up with glitter. That's exactly right.
That would be great. Well,
I love it.
This is like a business podcast, so I am going to ask you some business questions. But right. What's interesting is you've made it, Annie, when people say, they don't just say Annie, like, oh, do you know Annie? You say Annie Downs. So, or in your case, Annie F. Downs. So, like, how did you get to be Annie F. Downs? How did you get here?
The reason we have to do the F, by the way? It's a great story. There is a super famous quilter in Australia named Annie Downs. Okay. I mean, she is like the premier quilt designer in the world. Mm-hmm. And so forever we were getting mixed up on, and still all the time, if you look at the Annie Downs hashtag on Instagram or Twitter, it's always like a picture of one of my books and then a quilt pattern and then a book and then a quilt pattern. Oh my gosh, it's hilarious. So that's why we're Annie F. Downs everywhere. And it just makes for, I mean, if we want to talk about business, it just makes for really easy branding. That is because good. I'm the same across every social. I'm the same on every book cover. There is no question. In fact, we are really strong about if my name is in print, it's Annie F. Downs, because I really believe and I want that consistency across every channel, every opportunity we have to be in front of an audience. I want that consistency, because then when they're looking for you later, I don't want them looking for Annie Downs. I want them looking for Annie F. Downs, because I don't want them to be 2 clicks from finding me. I want them to be 1 click.
Mm-hmm. And are you everywhere? I know you're on Snapchat, so that's where I found you. Yeah.
To be honest, I'm losing a little Snapchat love, because I'm losing love for it, only because it's there's so many other things. When you open that home page, there's so many other stories that are sitting there that Snapchat is curating that I don't want people to look at, and I don't necessarily think are life-giving. And so I'm having a hard time sending people to Snapchat to find me, because they also find a lot of stuff that I don't necessarily agree with. So I'm kind of leaning more heavy on Instagram stories currently. But I'm Annie F. Downs on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Snapchat, my website, my address, pretty much everywhere. Everything is Annie F. Downs.
And what does the F stand for?
Oh, it's a really complicated Swiss middle name. It has silent letters. It's bizarre. So I usually just tell people it stands for fancy, because that's an easy way to remember it.
Okay.
But also because I love the Atlanta Falcons' heartbreaking Super Bowl loss.
I'm so sorry.
I sometimes say it stands for the Falcons as well. So
there you go. Yeah.
That's the easiest. Yeah.
Were you at the Super Bowl? Did you attend?
No, I came really close, but I did not go. And I'm glad I didn't now, obviously. That would have been, it was hard enough I was with a bunch of my Atlanta friends here in Nashville, and it was hard enough being here. It would have been hard to be there. But a couple of my friends went and brought me back some swag. So they texted me, but my buddies texted me this morning and said, I know it's not much of a consolation prize, but we did get you some stuff.
Oh, that was nice.
It's really sweet. I know, it's so sweet. I totally love it.
Well, one of the things that I thought about when I heard you were going to be able to come on is my obsession right now is like, and especially with you and your assistant, Eliza. Because I think I follow her on Snapchat too. But,
I know, she's awesome.
So how does that work? Like, where did you find her? Is she your first or second assistant? And tell me more about that.
In the history of the company?
Yes.
Or what we have right now? In the history of the company, she is the 4th employee we've had.
Okay.
And if you don't count interns.
Okay. And your company being Annie F. Downs.
Well, it's actually called Downs Books Incorporated.
Okay.
So, but yes, so we are not a 501c3. We're not a nonprofit or a ministry. We're a company.
Okay.
That is called Downs Books. And then I am the president, the number 1 employee, that kind of stuff. Right. So, so I get a salary from the company, just like everyone else who works for me.
Okay.
So Eliza and I grew up in the same hometown. And she's a couple of years younger than me. So when I was a leader in the youth group, she was a student. Okay. And we knew each other, but we didn't know each other well, like we knew who each other was. But one of her best friends used to travel with me sometimes and do some work. And there was one time when that girl couldn't travel with me. And she said, well, why don't you call Eliza Olson? And I was like, oh, okay, I'll call Eliza. That'll be fine. And so I called her, and she was awesome. At the time, I had a full-time employee in Nashville with me. And so I didn't need a second employee at the time. And then about 4 or 5 months later, my full-time employee here in Nashville left. And so I was looking to hire an assistant, and Eliza lives in Atlanta. But I called her and I was like, hey, just think about this and pray about this and see if you think this could fit for our lives. Because she's just incredible. She's incredibly hard worker, incredibly easy to work with and travel with. And so she works for me, not full time, but about 25 hours a week, and then travels with me on weekends.
Okay.
And then I have a part-time person in Nashville as well that kind of handles office things and post office and things when I'm out of town. She does about 10 hours a week, and then is the second person to travel with me if Eliza's not available. And then we usually have a couple of interns each semester as well.
So when you travel with someone, do they set up like the book booth kind of thing, and man that and take care of?
And they act as the tour manager. So they're in contact with the event. They're the phone number that the event has. They're the ones who have made sure everything's in place. She has all the confirmation numbers. Before we go, Eliza or whoever is traveling with me, but usually Eliza, creates a day sheet for each day that we're gone that kind of says, here's the hotel, here's the address, here's our confirmation for the rental car, here's our flight confirmation, and just kind of hands me a full document a couple of days before we go of everything that's going to happen while we're there. And so that's kind of what that role does, is kind of handle all the tour managing kind of activities, as well as running the merch table.
Yeah, because you're busy planning to speak or writing your next book. Are you writing your next book already?
I am.
Yeah.
And so that's exactly right. There are things that I learned early on when I started wanting to do this full time in 2009. I only had friends around me that were doing their creative job full time that were in music. And so I was watching these musicians around me and watching how they did their career. And so I built my career to look like theirs. So I don't look like a typical author. I look more like a musician. I have a lot of people that work for me that are just take a percent of my income and work on a certain area, like a business manager, a literary agent, a speaking agent, all those kind of things. So I look at having like an actual manager. So I look way more like a musician than I do an author. And what I learned from watching some of my musician friends is the most successful ones, the ones who are, winning Grammys and on big tours, all they did was write music and sing music, and they paid other people to do everything else. So they do what they're best at, and they pay other people to do what they aren't best at. And so I've mirrored that in my career, and it has been, I do not have as much money as I would have if I just ran this by myself.
Right.
But it is way more successful, and I'm way more easy to deal with and way more sane. Yeah.
You're happier.
Because I do what I'm good at, and I hire people to do all the things I'm not good at, which is a really long list of things I'm not good at.
Well, that's great. Yeah, because you're, you've got to tap into what, your giftings and what God gifted you in. And there are so many other people. I always laugh when I remember, in gifts, people, I think, don't understand them sometimes and their own giftings or whatever, but churches and committees and things like that sometimes miss the mark. Like I remember one time I was a mom at the time, and I was part of this Bible study, and this lady came up to me and she said, well, I really feel led to ask you to be in charge of the nursery. And I was like, well, you didn't hear from God, because he didn't tell me. Because I'm watching when I had to serve, I was watching the clock, and I'd be like, oh my gosh, it's only been 10 minutes. Oh, it is not my gifting to, be, I could do it, but it's just not something that I cared. It's not, but then I have my friend who loves little kids. She wants to do it full time. And I'm like, bless your heart. And, but, so giftings, working where you are, gonna give the highest level of excellence is where it's at. Yeah.
That's exactly right. I have to believe that the people who work around me have to believe that, because if they don't think that I'm doing my very best at the part I'm good at, then they can get bitter thinking they work harder than I do. Right. Or vice versa, where if I'm not sure that I've plugged people into the place of their giftedness in my company, then I can get bitter that they aren't doing things right or aren't doing things well, when it's really on me as the boss because I didn't put them in the right spot.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So it's twofold. So you've got to work hard too. You know, like you're saying, you've got to be excellent in what you do so that they can see that you're working hard too. It's
right. That's exactly right.
No walk in the park doing what you do, obviously. I mean, one of the questions that I had was, where do you go when you go to write or prepare to speak? Is there like a certain place that you go to get away from it all, or do you just do it anywhere?
No, actually, I really love my house. Because I travel so much, my home is it's a real gift when I get to be here for extended amount of time or when I'm working. And so I've really set up my home in a way that is very comfortable and warm for me. And so when I'm writing, I'm here. I'm not like one of those people who like goes out of town or rents a cabin or any of that stuff, mostly because when I'm writing, I need people around me as well. Like I can only write for a certain amount of time and then I need to see my people. I'm an extrovert. I'm a 7 on the Enneagram. I like need people a lot. And so usually what I do is I'll write, if I'm working on a book, I'll write I do a word count every day. I don't do an hour. Like I don't make myself sit there from 10 to 5. I make myself sit there till I get my word count done. And so what I try to do when I'm writing a book is I get my word count done, I work out, and I see friends every day. Those are the 3 things I try to do every day, besides the like getting up and spending time reading all that stuff, like eating breakfast, lunch. But I mean, like the 3 goals every day is finish your word count, work out, and see a friend.
Yeah, that sounds like fun.
That's what I try to do. Yeah, and so I don't try. I'm not one of those people who like can retreat away and write for 6 days, and that just doesn't make me feel alive. It makes me feel alone.
I'm the same way. I think when I think about going to a cabin by myself to write or do something, I think, oh my gosh, but I'll be scared because I'll be all by myself. Like I'm always afraid of who's going to come around, or I don't know. But I'm also a city girl, so I'm not a big.
Me too.
I'm thinking, can I just go to the Hyatt?
Right, exactly.
And just downtown, and then when I want to snack, I'll just go downtown on 2nd Avenue, that's my idea of getting away. But so as a writer, what writers conferences do you attend as a writer? Like, do you have conferences that you like? I've got to make this conference, not as a speaker.
Yeah. When I started, for sure, I went to She Speaks in Charlotte. And I went to Mount Hermon Christian Writers Conference out in California. And I love both of those. I think really highly of what both of them accomplish and what they teach you and the opportunities they give you. I also love like the Rewrite Conference. There's a couple of them that are great. Currently with my calendar, I don't get to go to writers conferences like I'd like to, but I do read a ton of books about writing, and I have a writers group here in Nashville that I'm a part of. And so I still recognize I need to work on my craft and invest in working on my craft. I just don't get to take time to go and spend a weekend or a week away currently.
Yeah. Are you thinking about maybe branching out and doing a different genre of writing this time, or
not for this particular book because I'm already contracted for it and we know what it's about. But yeah, I mean, there's always the opportunity and the dream of could I do, poetry? Could I do a novel? Could I do children's books? Because the skill set's the same. I've only got one real skill set. I can entertain people long enough that they learn something. And that comes across in a novel as well as it does in a nonfiction. So yeah, there's always dreams. I would really have to, I think it takes a lot more thought and skill to write a novel than to write a nonfiction, because you have to make up a world and make up a story. Whereas I just get to tell the life I've really experienced. And so I think I think in the future there might be a spot for a novel, but I'm not sure I'm there right now.
Yeah. Do you think you'll be a lifelong writer?
I am. I mean, I think whether I get paid to do it or not, it will still be true. There's pieces that I've written for people in my life that will never be published. That, I wrote a piece for some young men that I mentored when they were in college here in Nashville at Vanderbilt. And it's a devotional for them that will never be published, that was really just for them. So there's pieces like that exist that I've written that show me and kind of are an example to me that writing isn't just my career. It's a lot of who I am. And so, yes, I'll always do this. I hope this is my career for the rest of my life? Totally. I mean, yesterday or this weekend, this past weekend was the IF gathering in Austin. And one of the women who got up and spoke is named Jill Briscoe. And she had this really interesting thing she said. Her quote was, "Go where you're sent and stay where you're put and give what you've got until you're done." And I just thought, and in fact, when she said, "and stay where you're put," she said, "unpack." And I just thought, man, that's how I want to live in my career and in my relationships and in my city, is act like I'm never leaving. How would my investment be different in this career or in this relationship or in this city if I thought I was never leaving? And so that's how I hopefully treat my career as a writer, is like, yeah, this is it. I mean, the door, luckily, because I used to teach elementary school, I taught elementary school for 5 years before the Lord kind of opened up these doors to pursue writing and speaking full time. I've seen what it looks like to give up a career that I love for something different. And so I can do that again if that's what God asks me to do. But I'm living like this is the last career I'll ever have.
Yeah, yeah. I know a lot of musicians in town that are like that, even through feast and famine and back and forth. And yeah, they're just committed, Yeah. This is what I do.
Yeah,
this is who I am.
Yeah. And that's kind of how I feel. Like, this is who I am and this is what I'll do as long as I can. And when the door closes, I'll ask God what he's doing and what's next.
Have you read the book? I think it's called, is it Big Magic?
Elizabeth Gilbert? No,
Yeah.
I haven't read it yet. I've heard it's amazing.
Oh my gosh, that's such a great book. And one of the things that, when I think about musicians, I think about them, like I said, there's a lot of famine, in their careers sometimes.
Yeah.
And especially if they're just, not just, but if they're drummers or, guitar players or session singers, it is sometimes great and sometimes not. And so they're filling in with odd jobs here and there. And I remember from the book, Elizabeth Gilbert said, don't require your craft and your love and your passion to pay the bills sometimes, is what she was saying. And I thought, that's putting a whole lot of responsibility on that one, because you're just starting out, or I think she stayed working as like a waitress or in a restaurant until after Eat, Pray, Love.
Oh yeah. I mean, I was the same way. I still had jobs outside of writing and speaking after my first book was out. Yeah. That's just the truth of it. Getting a book deal does not pay the bills.
Right.
For getting the first book deal, for sure. There are very few people I know that can live off of book deals alone.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's an interesting look from behind the scenes too with musicians, because their companies are, record companies are taking cuts here and there, even though, here you are, you're going to get a brand new, shiny new car or whatever. They're giving them stuff, but it's coming out of their proceeds or out of their, what is the word?
Royalties.
Royalties. Yeah. Royalties. Yeah. So anyway, crazy business. But you just have to do what you have to do to live the life you want to live. And
because I think what people who don't do this job don't often realize is, let's say you let's say you get your first book deal in, what is this, February of 2017, and you get a book deal for $50,000. That's incredible. I mean, that's a really, really good book deal for a first time author, like significantly higher
Yeah,
than
that's a lot of
most of
money.
the people I know, right? But your book doesn't come out until, let's see, it's winter of, so your book probably doesn't come out until fall of 18.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and then you don't start making money on the back side of the book until you've sold through that advance. So
Right.
that $50,000, you're going to lose how much? You're going to lose 15% of that to your agent if you're smart enough to have an agent, and you should. So not even lose, you get to give 15% of that really good book deal to the person who got it for you. So you lose $15,000 right there. So you're down to 35, and then you lose taxes. So you're down to 20, you're
Yeah.
down to 25 maybe and you can't live off of $25,000 for 2 years.
No.
Right.
Yeah.
And so people think, oh my gosh, I just got $50,000. And you're like, no, you just got the permission to speak into the lives of anyone who picks up your book. That's what you got.
Yeah.
And you're
Yeah.
getting paid a little bit for it. And that's awesome. And that's really generous of the publisher. But do not act like you've just come into the money of your life, because that's not usually how it goes. Usually that money is good to put away and to save and to help you for sure. But you got to find other ways to have income besides that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I remember. So my husband used to be a musician, and he had some great background singers on his project. But, it was, he had investors, and he had a project and did a CD. That was a long time ago. And they were like, how did you get her to sing on your album? And he was like, oh no, I just paid her. It's like these artists, they're just trying to make money and doing, she was thankful to be on his record because she got to use her voice. And, so
Yeah.
like writing articles and doing other things are other ways to use your craft to, make money. And if you can do that, that's awesome. Instead of having to go do something that you don't really like, wait tables or whatever. Scrub floors, or in my husband's case, I think he hauled like rugs, even
Yeah.
though, and he was like, oh, forget it, I'm going to go back to accounting. So
I know people are always surprised when I tell them that I ghost write and that I do writing projects outside of my own. But last fall, I wanted to get LASIK surgery on my eyes. And so I had to make more money, because
yeah.
I can't just take that. I mean, just because it's my company doesn't mean I can just scoop out what I want to do what I want. Right.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I knew I had to bring in more income last fall if I wanted to get LASIK. So I took a ghostwriting job. So I'm still working on my craft. I'm still in my giftings, but it's not my work. It's someone else's work. And it's awesome. And you still get royalties, and it's a great gig. And I got to pay for LASIK.
You still get royalties with ghostwriting? I
You
guess.
do. Yeah. I mean, if your agent is good and
Yeah.
you work out your gig right. Yeah.
Nice. Very nice.
Yeah.
I like that.
So I have a couple of projects that I get checks in the mail once a quarter
Oh, wow.
that I don't have to market or do anything for, because the author sold through their advance. And so I make royalties off of books that I wrote years ago for the author.
Yeah. Well, my husband's by no means anything. So, but we still get, BMI checks from some of the,
Yeah.
I was like, doggone it, I wish you had written more, but I mean, it really is just pennies, but we get our check and we're like, yay, we can go out to dinner, that kind of.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
But
it makes it hard to budget. That's why it was important to me to have a company instead of just having a checking account.
Yeah.
Because I need to not feel like all my business money is available for me to spend. I need to just keep squirreling it into the account, living off the budget that my business manager and I have created for the company, and making sure that we're in a successful place to do what we want to do.
That's great. You're a smart businesswoman. I'm glad I had you on here. Very smart.
My parents are very smart business people as well. And I'll tell you the truth. When I started doing this, I didn't take any business classes in college. I studied to be an early childhood education teacher, but I really just asked God to teach me how to run a business and to put the right books in front of me. And I have a lot of wise people around me. And so I ask a lot of questions to a lot of people who are smarter and richer and older and more successful than me, because I want to be all of those things.
Yeah.
And so,
That's
you
good.
know, I never hesitate to take somebody to lunch when I can ask them questions and learn what they have learned already.
Yeah. And watching, like you said, you're watching the musicians and you sort of structured it in a way where it kind of mimics their, what they're doing and how they're
Yep.
structured their business. It's smart. It's smart business. I mean, just to
Thank
set
you.
something up like that, because it's kind of like when you said, like, you get the $50,000, it's kind of like you won the lottery and you're so excited, but then, you're like, oh gosh, it's almost like you kind of have to pay it back, but it's really being, kind of,
Yep.
and so
That's exactly right. Every book deal I get, I do not look at as income. I look at it as investment money.
Mm-hmm.
That is not my income that I'm meant to live off of. That's meant to help the company do what the company needs to do to be successful. And I still live off the budget that I've been living off of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So how many speaking engagements do you do a month?
We do 3 weekends a month, and then try to do 1 or 2 midweek events a month.
Oh, wow. That's a lot. You do travel a lot.
Yeah, I do. And I totally love it. I'm still single, and I hope I'm not forever. I don't think this is my life forever. But while the door is open and the opportunity's there and my schedule allows it, I want to meet as many friends as we can and be as impactful as we can. We're backing down. And that's our 2017 numbers. Our 2018 numbers are different than that. But that's what we set for the goal for this year. And so far, we're booked out pretty good. We have a couple of weekends left in September, but that's about it. Right now, we're booking 2018.
Okay. Wow. That's pretty cool that you're already doing that. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's really fun. It's great. And it's fun to look ahead and see all the fun places we get to go. We're going to Alaska for the first time. And
whoa. That's
I
nice.
know, I can't wait. Eliza and I have like a little map that we keep of all the states we get to see. Part of surviving a crazy road life is finding joy in it.
Yes.
And one of the ways we find joy in it is trying to see all the states. And we do a local eatery contest in every city where we try to eat at the best local place. So we're really excited to get to go to Alaska because we're adding that state to our list. And we also, I think we have not done, there's one other state this year. I'm trying to look at, Nebraska. We've never been to Nebraska either. And we get to go to Omaha at the end of March, which we're really excited about.
Cool. Yeah. What is your favorite place to travel to for pleasure?
Scotland. I used to live there in 2011, and I have some really dear friends, some really important people in my life live there. And so I try to go back as much as I can, once a year, once every other year, once every 6 months if I could. But I kind of feel like that's my home. Edinburgh in Scotland is one of my homes, as well as Nashville. And so I try to get back as much as I can.
That's nice. Do you stay with a family, you said, or locals?
Yeah, I stay with some friends. Yeah. When I lived there, I had an apartment, and so I just had roommates. But like when my most recent trip, I stayed with my best friends, a married couple that are my best friends over there. So there's probably 3 or 4 families I could stay with, so I could pop around. Or if I ever go back for an extended time, I would just get an Airbnb or something.
Yeah, I love Airbnbs. Don't you?
Oh, me too. I love them. I think they're so fun. I actually just did it in California. My agent and I were out there working and outlining the next book and doing some dreaming for 2017 and 2018. And we got the coolest little Airbnb in Newport Beach. It was gorgeous.
Nice. Now I would do that. I would get away to write in California.
Yeah.
That sounds
Luckily,
good.
I was already out there for work. And so we already had to be there, put that in quotes, right? Who has to be in California in January. It's amazing. So then my agent just flew out, and we took a couple of days and did some intense dreaming and planning, and it was really fun.
Nice. Well, what is, I think you've shared a lot, but what's the best advice someone's ever given you? Best business advice.
Business advice. I really, it still remains that pay people to do what you're not the best at.
Mm-hmm.
Like I have a friend who is a television host here in Nashville, and she does her own taxes, and it makes her cry every year.
Oh.
And it takes so long. And I always say, like, You should not be doing that. You're a TV host. Pay a little extra to get someone who really knows how to do their taxes to do your taxes, right? So,
Oh, yeah.
it's stuff like and I'll tell you the other thing that the second best piece of business advice I ever got was to rest, to make sure you build in. So on our actual iCal calendar, every single week, I have a day off. Even like it's supposed to be tomorrow and I have a ton to do. And I said to myself this morning, I really wish I didn't have to take tomorrow off. I know that sounds silly, but I have a lot to do before I go out of town on Thursday, but I am really committed. And I have a board of directors, and my board of directors is really committed to me following a couple of guidelines for the health of myself and the health of my life. And one of those is taking a day off every week, and I've got to do it. And so that means today I work really hard because I've got to do everything I would like to do tomorrow today because I take tomorrow off. And so that would be the two things. Pay other people to do what you aren't best at and take a day off every week. Your company will survive because this is a marathon. I'm not trying to sprint to win. I want to do this for 50 years if I can. And I cannot do that if I don't take a day off every week, especially a lot of people get to do it because they can have Sundays or have Saturdays. But for us, this weekend, I speak Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and travel Sunday. So those aren't going to be restful for me.
No.
So I take Wednesdays off. Wednesdays, pretty much for the entire year of 2017, Wednesdays are my Sabbath day, my off day. And so people everyone I work with knows, like, oop, we can't get Annie on a Wednesday. So if we need her, we got to do it Tuesday night or Thursday morning because she doesn't answer her phone on a Wednesday.
Yeah, that's a lot of days to be traveling. And what people don't understand is, they come and see you and you're, it's great, but you're like on, you're, I remember when I used to travel with my husband, we would, he would sing at churches and stuff. And so, we're with people and we're being entertained and, like they're entertaining us and they're, taking us here and there. So it doesn't stop after your speaking time. You're with people, you're doing things, you're in a strange, city or and you're, sleeping wherever, in a hotel, a different place every night or whatever. And so it's not as restful. I mean, it's just not restful. So
right, because in a great way, in a way I'm really thankful for, when people bring us in, they want it. They really care that I have prepared and that I'm doing right by the stage. And I feel really, often really convicted to make sure I'm honoring the people who've brought us in. But then also they almost always say, hey, we have a group of leaders we'd love for you to eat lunch with. And
yes,
our host that's picking you up and driving you around has read all your books and really cares to talk to you. And, so you very rarely is the only thing I'm doing the 45 minutes I'm on the stage.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I think people, need to know that it's, even people that you see in book signing places, at Barnes and Noble, they're going to a different, dinner or something that night. And, people whoever's bringing them in or their publisher saying, you're going to do this and you're going to do that. So,
right.
A lot of stuff going on. So,
and luckily I'm extroverted and I totally love this job. And so that stuff doesn't wear me out emotionally. 9 times out of 10, 1 time out of 10, it does for sure. I mean, there are times where I go like, okay, I can't handle this anymore.
Yeah.
But 9 times out of 10, I'm not worn out emotionally, but physically it's tiring. So like this week we drive to Atlanta and drive back in the same day and then fly to Idaho and speak for 2 days and then fly back. And that's a lot of travel. I like it. I think it's fun and I sleep great on planes, but it will make my body tired. Oh yeah. Listen, that engine turns on and it is like a sound machine for me. Wow. And I'm out. I am really thankful.
Did you did you travel when you were younger?
Not a ton on planes that I remember. I think the Lord's just gracious and compassionate, mainly.
Yeah,
I think that's mostly it. Because most of the time my luggage shows up where I am and I can sleep pretty well on planes. And I'm really
nice. Yeah. Well, it's funny because my daughter, when we used to travel for a living, my daughter was born on the road. So pretty much.
Oh,
and
wow.
So when she when she would get in her car seat, that would be her nap time. We'd leave the church and it would be time, for nap, to go to the next city. And now she gets in the car, not when she's driving, obviously, but when she gets in the car, she's not driving as an adult now. She just, boom, she's out.
Yep, same. I'm very similar. I fall asleep in a car pretty quick myself.
That's great. Well, okay, so I'm going to ask you a couple more questions to end. I would love for you to come back and maybe do a panel discussion about how to choose your board of directors. I think that's a whole show on its own. But we'll talk about that later. But so I always ask locals that are here in Nashville, and I love to interview people from Nashville. What is your favorite Nashville restaurant? I know we talked about the farmers market, but what?
Yeah. So for breakfast, I'm always leaning toward Frothy Monkey in 12 South. It's my very favorite. I love their California. It's so good. But best meal in this city to me is City House. I absolutely love City House. It's my very, very favorite. It's where I will go for every birthday celebration. Anytime I can, I go to City House.
And what do you get there? What is it? I've not been. And you're the
second my goodness,
guest.
You have to go. It's so good.
Is it?
So I'm allergic to dairy.
Okay.
But the only time I eat cheese is I take 2 Benadryl before I go to City House, and they have a belly ham pizza that is unbelievable. It's just the best pizza I've ever had. And they do a runny egg in the middle if you ask for it.
Love that.
And it is so good. So the belly ham pizza, and then they always have a seasonal gnocchi. So potato or bread or sweet potato, and it's incredible. I mean, you really can't go wrong there, but their pizza is just unreal.
That sounds delicious. Yeah, I'm going to try that. So pizza and pasta. So it's is it Italian or just...
Yes, it is. Sorry,
it's Italian. Yeah. Okay, good. Okay, and what are you a reader? I imagine you read what you can. Yeah. What are you reading these days?
I'm reading all the time. I'm currently reading, one of the things that is a gift, a blessing and a curse, if you will, about being an author is you get to endorse books a lot, and if you choose to. And so we have a little bit of a limit of how many we do, but I'm doing one right now. So I'm reading that. It's a book that comes out in the fall. And then the novel I'm reading is an Ann Patchett. She, who she is. She's a novelist in Nashville. So I'm reading one of her novels.
Is that
and then I'm also reading,
I'm sorry. Is that the one that's down when she talks about the one down in South America?
No, I'm not reading that one. I actually can't remember the title. It's hold on, I can just tell you. I'm also currently reading. I just started Jenny Allen's new book called Nothing to Prove, and it's amazing. It is absolutely excellent. I love it a lot. So I kind of keep a fiction and a nonfiction running. Okay, so the one I'm reading from Ann Patchett is called Commonwealth.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm reading that. I'm reading Rebecca. I usually have a business book of some kind going on my iPad to read on the plane. I just kind of keep a book with me all the time.
Yeah.
Because I love reading, and and partly, like I told you, I'm an Enneagram 7, and so we're kind of gluttons. We want all of everything. And one of the things I always want to read everything. And so if I don't keep a book with me, I will be on my phone all the time.
Yeah.
So I try to keep a book in my purse so that it limits how much I'm on my phone.
I'm currently reading The Talent Code. Have you read that? By Daniel Cole.
I've heard about it. Yeah, I've seen a lot of people post about it lately.
Unlocking the secret of skill in sports, art, music, math, and just about anything. It's so fascinating because it talks. Yeah, it's kind of like that. I can't remember now. I can't remember his name. The other author who talked about outliers. I think it's kind of like that. Only Malcolm Gladwell. Only this one, The Talent Code, is more of talking about the science behind it. That there's this thing called myelin, and it goes in and out of our bodies kind of thing that helps us. It's really, really fascinating. Yeah, I love reading business books and kind of self-help, those type books. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Well, awesome. Well, thanks, Annie, so much.
Oh, thanks for having me. It was really good to be on here with you.
Wow, what a great business mind. I totally want to have her back on the show to discuss her board of directors. She was also such a wonderful guest that, really, she could just come on and read the newspaper to me and I would have her back on the show. I love her so much. I really enjoyed hearing how she worked with her assistant and how she monetarily plans her work and future. Loved that so much. You can find more information about Annie on the show notes at CorrineSandifer.com. Next week, for our 50th episode, I have one of the women who has inspired me in podcasting, and that is the host of the Happy Hour, Jamie Ivey. We chat about all things podcasting and the line between what is ministry and what is business. Make sure you are subscribed to this podcast so you are sure to get it in your inbox when it releases. Music is by Ben Sound, and this podcast has been sponsored by Brentwood Life Coach. Thanks so much for listening, and keep rising in your own story.